Back in 2023, I made a video on the previous manga, the one-shots of Gege Akutami. Gege, who you may know, is that freak that made that popular boys love Jujutsu Kaisen. A lot of people seem to really like that video, which makes me happy, because I love talking about manga and mangaka and their influences, that sort of thing. So I figured, you know what, I've been reading Dandadan for the past few years, it's been getting really popular thanks to the great anime. Why don't I look into the previous manga of Tatsu Yukinobu and just talk about those? So yeah, hi everyone, my name is Santanayo, though my friends call me Ash, and on this video I'll be talking about, summarizing, and giving my own opinions on the various manga of Yukinobu Tatsu. And right off the bat, we got Seigi no Rokugou. This one was his first serialized manga and it ran from September 6, 2010 to April 6, 2011. It wasn't published in Weekly Shonen Jump, it was published in Shonen Magazine. It got its own series like Noragami and Your Lie in April, that sort of thing. It only ever got 8 chapters, but given the fact that Shonen Magazine was a monthly publication, it made sense. It's like how Steel Ball Run was published in Jump Giga, I'm pretty sure, that being monthly, and while Steel Ball Run only had 95 chapters, each chapter was like 40 pages or so it made sense in terms of length. Despite this manga being 8 chapters, I was only able to find the first one, and it was translated in both English and Turkish. And also as a heads up, all the manga I'm talking about today, I read off from Mangadex. So this manga was translated by Punkyu Plus. Thank you, Punkyu. Right off the bat, not gonna lie, the first thing you notice are those faces, bro. Those long ass faces. Though, to be fair, the expressions do remind me of Dandadan. You really see it with the main character Shota. His faces are really reminiscent of the expressions that Tatsu would use in Dandadan. Shota is a hikikomori otaku who collects anime figures and stays at home all day. All the while, he's crushing on his classmate who walks past his house every day on her way to school. It's been like 15 years since this was written, and I do gotta give the credit to Punkyu for translating this, but I will say, the banter between Shota and his brother is really great. I really like their dynamic. His brother's a cop, and he figures, hey, if my little bro got a bunch of free time, I might as well give him something to do. So he drops off this orb that happens to be this little freak named Rokugou, like the guy from Tales of Berseria. Now, if you couldn't see the influence this would have on Dandadan down the line before, you can really see it now, because Rokugou for sure reminds me a lot of Turbo Granny, and that floating dog turtle thing from Dandadan whose name I forgot. I really like the little faces it makes. Shota and Rokugou are kind of bantering back and forth, trying to figure out what the hell is going on, and before you know it, looks like Shota's school is facing a hostage crisis. This forces Shota to leap into action, and him and Rokugou make their way to the school and save the day. Nah, I'm just kidding, he gets shot, and so does his crush. After failing to convince himself that this is all just one big dream, Rokugou gets Shota to lock in, and the bars on Shota's cell phone go through the roof. This might be because of the 7G towers they got in Japan. With the power of 7G and a little henshin, Shota now goes into this little Kamen Rider state and fires a warning shot at the perpetrators, and thankfully they back down. Of course, there's no point in trying to explain yourself to the cops, so at this point Shota skedaddles home and tries to reflect on everything that happened that day. As far as hooks go for a shonen manga, this is fine. You got your typical things like the reluctant hero, the mysterious powers, that sort of thing. Yeah, I mean, I've seen it all before, but this is inoffensive, There's enough here in this first chapter to keep you engaged until the end, and I do think that Tatsu's art does the heavy lifting. His character designs and expressions are top-notch, even 15 years ago when he was just starting out. And like I've been talking about, you can definitely draw comparisons to Dandadan here, with an initially reclusive and cowardly protagonist, the protagonist going beast mode thanks to a little freak being there. Everything is there in Dandadan. I would have loved to just finish this manga, but sadly can't really read kanji all too well, and it just still hasn't been translated. So for now, going off this first chapter, I'm going to give this a very okay out of 10. Definitely not my favorite one-shot or work of his. Alright, next up we got Fireball, and this one was also released in Shonen Magazine, and it ran from February 6, 2013 to August 6, 2014. I can't find it. I really can't. It was never translated, as far as I'm aware. I can't read this. As a result, I can't say anything about it, but if these covers are anything to go by, it looks like his style is getting more and more developed, and these developments would carry into Dandadan. The covers remind me a lot of Gash Bell, the watercolors and the eyes. They really scream like early 2000s manga, even though this came out back in 2013. It's a shame because it looked like this went on for like quite a while too, but yeah, nah, unfortunately I have nothing other than it's a baseball manga. I'm not too big on baseball, I always liked football more, but that's just me. Alright, now we'll get to the really good stuff. This one is Renai Saibaiho, or Love Cultivation Method, which was a one-shot published on July 17th, 2015, 4 days after my birthday, by the way. Unlike the other two manga, with the first one being like a shonen and the second one being a sports shonen, this one is focused on romance. It's where we get that famous line of Tatsu's editor telling him to sit down, shut up, and read 100 shoujo manga, and even sent him the 100 shoujo manga to read. So like, if I could go on a tangent for a little bit, right? I think more mangaka would benefit from not just reading like shoujo manga, but like all sorts of manga outside of like their own field. Everyone loves posting about Berserk and Guts and all that, and look, I love the series and him too, but you gotta remember that Miura was inspired not just by like any one thing, but an accumulation of things. Shonen manga, shoujo manga, gothic infrastructure, you know? And I think a lot of time, people complain about like, oh, the woman in this shonen suck, or like, this author doesn't know how to write women. And a lot of times I'm like, yeah, I mean, I can agree with you in some regard. But I think not only should these mangaka read shoujo manga, but also they should try to gain like a better perspective and respect for manga that are outside their target demographic, you know? I'll go into it further because it turned out Tatsu just adopted a lot more from shoujo manga than just like the romance aspect, which I really appreciate. But that's something to keep in mind, you know, if you're a creative, definitely try to read and play and watch things outside your comfort zone, just to get a better, like, appreciation of, like, the world at large. Anyway, sorry for the rant. Back on topic, you could really see here the eyes are really starting to look like the eyes from Dandadan, but, like, not exactly, you know what I mean? The scanlation group behind this one is Nekio, and I really like the cat image they used. It's funny in retrospect, because, like, Tatsu used to draw eyes really close together back in the day, and then like as he kept making more and more manga, they just grew further and further apart. This one shot opens up with Shiro, the boyfriend, and Kinoko, the girlfriend, observing the beautiful, starry Japanese landscape, promising to one another that for as long as they live, they will visit this scenic site every single summer. The next page is Kinoko kicking Shiro in the back of his head. Shiro is obsessed with mushrooms and even starts a mushroom club, which is made funnier because Kinoko's name literally translates to mushroom and her head looks like that. I'm not gonna front, her proportions look really scuffed here, but that's okay, she's still cute. It's in this one shot that like you can really see Tatsu start to like lock in and focus on the stuff he's really good at. Great banter, great expressions, dynamic poses, that sort of thing. It's really just like nice to see him come into his element here. The source of conflict here comes from Kinoko being sad because her boyfriend is just like this mushroom freak like N from Dorohedoro. Like all she wants is for him to see her as his girlfriend and not as a mushroom, which is, you know, that's a fair ask. Whenever I see mushrooms, I think about that clip from Bar Rescue when he's screaming at the mushroom in the freezer. Kinoko tries messing with Shiro by getting rid of her mushroom hair, only for her to go to like completely unnoticed, which makes her feel a lot worse. She tries vandalizing his mushrooms, only to end up knocking some over by accident, and instead of apologizing to Shiro, she decides, let me just hide the evidence in the schoolyard. Once Shiro finds out, however, she immediately regrets her words and deeds. The guilt turns into anger, which turns into sadness, all of which feels really natural, and I like it a lot. Like, I've known these characters for 25 pages at this point, but I genuinely feel sorry for the both of them. It's interesting because Tatsu would later refine this skill when writing the backstories of the yokai in Dandadan, which all feel like watching 500 train accidents at once. True to her namesake, Kinoko starts researching mushrooms, how to grow and care for them, and begins to realize the amount of work that Shiro was putting into his hobby. And a funny Dandadan reference, this cat's name is Tama, because Tama means ball, and balls are what Okarun are missing. It takes a lot of trial and error and some encouragement from her homies, but Kinoko is able to grow a single mushroom. She's all embarrassed and shy to show the fruits of her labor to Shiro, but it turns out she wasn't the only one that had a surprise on hand. See, the whole time, Shiro was hard at work planting the mushrooms to recreate the starry visage that the couple saw in the beginning of the manga. Shiro realized it'd be kinda hard to go to the Japanese countryside every year to see that scenery, so why not bring it home to them? The revelation was really cute, I loved it a lot, and it kinda feels obvious in retrospect, but I was like genuinely surprised by the reveal, and I loved watching it unfold in real time. The one-shot closes out with the couple reconciling, and Shiro revealing, yeah, by the way, your mushroom cut isn't what healed me every time I looked at you, just looking at your face healed me. Which, you know what, as one true lover to another, I understand. The credits pages are really cute. You have like Tatsu, who at this point published Dandadan. He's like reflecting on his experiences with this one-shot, what he learned, that sort of thing. It turns out that the story was written with the ending first, and then he made his way backwards from there. He came up with the final spread of mushrooms, and just decided, okay, how do I make a story about this? It reminds me of Yoko Taro, how he writes the endings of his games first, and then just goes from there. It makes me happy to see that this is one of the few works that like Tatsu still looks back on fondly, even if he cringes at the faces he drew, and he still keeps like the lessons he learned from reading shoujo manga. He specifically calls out like the paneling of shoujo manga, how like spacious it is, but also like beautiful, conveys the world really nicely, which I agree, you know? Now look, I love my friggin' Jujutsus and my One Piece and my Sakamoto and Kagurabachi, but like, you gotta diversify, you know, you can't just be reading stuff that's pumped out in Shonen Jump, you gotta read a lot more than that, in my opinion. In order to like appreciate the world as a whole and the manga medium, you need to like diversify, read stuff written by like a woman or like a non-binary person, or like published for like kids, like friggin' Komodo Friends, I think that's for kids, I'm pretty sure. Precure, it's silly, it's goofy, but it's fun, it's enjoyable to watch with friends, you know? When you have a better understanding of the world at large, in my opinion, it helps you when you want to make your own world. If you want to make your own stories, games, movies, etc., it's good to like diversify, you know? All the time I see people who are like, you know, my story's inspired by like Berserk or like Dark Souls, which is like awesome. I love those things. Have you looked at what inspired Miura or Miyazaki, you know? Have you looked at their inspirations? Have they inspired you? Or are you just looking at like the end product, you know what I mean? I think if you are willing to expand your horizons and allow your mind to grow, the quality of your work is gonna follow like exponentially. Sorry for like rambling, but like I genuinely feel that way, you know? Anyways, this one shot, very cute out of 10. Really love this one of my favorites, I think. And coming off of that high, we have Kami-sama no Iru Machi, which was dropped on October 16th in 2015, and it is in not English. I don't know what language this is, but it is not English. I am trying to guess what happens in the story. We got a big beaver, it seems, or a dog. Could be either one. The main character is living with this angel girl that he found that he seems to have a crush on. He likes to feed her bread. She has really cute shoes. They're like huge. Look at these freaking things. Main character commits an OSHA violation. He gets fired. The house he lives in turns into this big-ass golem. Okay, yeah, this makes sense. He saves Angel Girl from the golem with the help of his construction crew to get married, to have a little kid, the end. All I did was look at the untranslated pages and guess what the story was, which, to be fair, was how many people experienced Jujutsu Kaisen when it was running. I'm sure that if I understood the words in front of me that I would have liked this one shot, but as it stands, it looks like it was cute. Like, this was only made a few months after the Mushroom one, but you could see that like his art really improved drastically. And finally, we got Yamada Kiki Ippatsu, which was dropped on April 27th, 2019, making it the last one-shot that Tatsu dropped before he made Dandadan. This one kicks things off with a kaiju and also Shinzo Abe, so right off the bat we got two huge monsters. It's up to Yamada, our high school heroine, to fight the big bad, and she has her childhood friend slash crush slash mentor Tsuyoshi, who helps prepare her before she goes to fight the big Palooka. Look, I appreciate all the work that translators and letterers do, but I do think this bubble could have been a little better. At this point though, Tatsu's art style completely shifted into the one that would be used in Dandadan, down to the same face syndrome. Being a high school girl with a crush, Yamada's trying to doll herself up. She's trying on a cute bow and frilly underwear, only for Tsuyoshi to kind of crush her with the line, "I never saw Yamada as a woman." Nothing is going right for this poor girl. It's time for Yamada to fight, and it turns out she's like Ultraman in the sense that she grows big to fight monsters, except now she forgot to change into her suit, and she got her booty ass hanging out with those frilly undies she bought. Her desire to not be seen as impure due to her underwear causes her to mess up the fight, constantly trying not to get upskirted by this big beast she's fighting. Then we got the patented Tatsu flashback of Tsuyoshi standing up for Yamada when they were kids, which explains her childhood crush on him. Before Yamada gives in to her self-doubt, here comes Tsuyoshi rocking a Speedo and also confessing his love. It turns out Yamada's friends spilled the beans to him, allowing him to be truthful about his own feelings, calling Yamada a cutie. Then, he says he wants to see her underwear. Then her friends go into their underwear. Then everyone does. Sure. What? I mean, like, Dandadan's kind of juvenile. It's fine, whatever. It's a manga for kids. Shonen means, like, boy. It's little boys. Like, they'd find this funny. Anyways, with newfound confidence and equipped with her newly bought bow, she performs the move that she practiced earlier with Tsuyoshi, now into Kaiju, and is able to turn it into goo. The one-shot ends with the duo now together, happy, being silly, which is something that Tatsu does really well. Out of all his one-shots, this one, like I mentioned, was like the most immature. Like, I mean, it's not bad. It's very silly. I definitely prefer like the mushroom one, but you can definitely see Tatsu's growth as an artist here. The action's great, incredible, kinetic. The spreads are fantastic. He has a really good understanding of line weight and line pressure, and like the scale and scope of these fights for sure inspired like the fights in Dandadan, specifically the ones where like Vamula is introduced. I really do think it's good that he experimented with different ideas for these one-shots, as it allowed him to settle into his comfort zone with Dandadan. Like, you can have silly, wacky stuff like people running around in their underwear, with sadness sprinkled throughout, you know? It works. Out of all of his one-shots, I'd say this is fine. This is alright out of 10, nothing crazy. I still like the mushroom one, but this one is like the closest I feel to Dandadan in the long run. Totally fine, totally serviceable. Nothing crazy, but I still enjoyed it. But with that, yeah, that's all of the manga and one-shots of Yukinobu Tatsu. I'm sorry that, like, I couldn't read 2 of them. Again, they just weren't available, unfortunately, but I tried to make do with what I did have available. And I guess I could, like, use this time to, like, reflect and think. I love Dandadan. No, I really do. That's really it. I love Dandadan a lot. I've been a big fan since it came out in 2021. I'm a big fan of the anime. I love Creepy Nuts. I love Science Saru. Everything came together. You got, what's the guy's name? Kensuke Ushio on the soundtrack. Like, everything is fantastic with that production. I know a lot of people now are just really into Dandadan via the anime, which is totally fine, but I do hope this video, like, goes around and people can see, like, oh, you know, he had, like, the seeds, the plantlings of Dandadan in, like, his previous work before they fully blossomed in, like, his most popular work. I love manga, dude. I love the art, I love the medium, I love the writing, and like all the effort and thought that goes into making each chapter, each volume, all that stuff, and I have like the utmost respect for all mangaka, you know, any artist that's willing to like put out these chapters weekly or monthly or yearly. I have a lot of respect for you guys, you know? But yeah, that'll do it. Love you guys. I hope the next video doesn't take like 6 months to come out, and I hope I could make these like every few months, give or take. Right now, I'm just reading Ya Boy Kong Ming. It's about Kong Ming coming forward in time and being a producer for this musician. I love it. It's very silly. Let me read off my patrons, and I'll close this out. Big thank you to Bag of Yams, Definitely Not an Orange, Midori, Techless, Ness Keyhand, Cooper, Alex, Chips, Tekken Bowling, Brentolio, I can't, Tyler, Full Command, Crabcorn, The Bard, Allegor Rigby, Citrus Banana, Treyman Jenkins, Dominoes, Folk Punk, Megidodine, Sunmine, Saragnal, Big Boot Goddamn, Polaroid Jack, Sarah Lolita, Borpulus Vunny, Real Settery, Loose, Vento, C, Kiwi Kiwi, V, Andrew, Braystar, Amaterasu, Logan, Sianaru, and Jeeb. Alright, you guys, love you all. I think the next video is going to be a little more interesting. My fiance wanted to work on a video with me, so hopefully we could get that out sometime, maybe before May or so. I'll let you guys know. Till then, love you all. Peace and love on planet Earth. Go read a shoujo manga or 2. Go read Sound of Perfection. That one's really cute. Alright, be good. Bye, guys.